Sun Tzu's The Art of War is a classic when it comes to leadership books, and that's probably why you're here. Leaders around the world often reference this title. In fact, it's one of the most influential leadership books in the world. What it teaches can be applied in business, sports, your private life, parenting, pretty much anywhere you can encounter conflict, tension, or competition. So why are people putting so much trust in a title that was written 2,500 years ago? I'm Nathalina from Blinkist, and in this Blink, we're going to dive into the key ideas of The Art of War by Sun Tzu. As it turns out, a good idea never gets old. And let me spoil it for you right here at the beginning. The key idea of The Art of War is that you should pick your battles. It's a piece of advice that many of us have both heard and given to others. But how do you do that? And what's that like in the context of leadership in today's world? With around 50 pages, depending on the edition, this is a fairly short book. And so, this is going to be a fairly short blink. Much of it has to do with battle techniques, and I'll give you an overview of that. But we at Blinkist will also try and make the essence of this book as relevant to you as possible by giving you modern-day context, which wasn't included in the book. All right, let's go.
Before we begin, we publish new content every week. So, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about the latest extracts. Our videos can be a bit longer sometimes because we never compromise on the content of the book and video. Therefore, it's important to watch the video till the end. Let's get started.
Let me just quickly put this book and author into context for you. We're going back 2,500 years. That's roughly the 5th century BC. The 5th and 6th century was a time marred by battles between different warring states in China. Amongst those leading and advising these battles was Sun Tzu, and he was winning a lot. He was a Chinese general, military strategist, and writer, and all his victories inspired this book. Worldwide, it's the most read military treatise. And yes, this is a book about war, but you'll find that his work focuses more on alternatives to actual fighting, even if that means submission, at least temporarily. Okay, here's where it gets interesting. Bear with me. The book has 13 chapters, each with a lot of bullet points rather than prose about war tactics. And I've already given you a huge spoiler right at the top, which is that the key idea is that you should pick your battles, and that a war is best won without any fighting at all. But hold on, before we dive into this, I do want to tell you what all 13 chapters are about. They're about making plans, the economy of warfare, the 5 pillars of a strong, united front, the importance of defending your position, how to use creativity on the field, how to quickly respond to changes, the need for flexibility, evaluating the intention of others, 3 areas of resistance, the 9 stages of a campaign, how to use weapons correctly, and using good information. A lot of it has to do with using the landscape and your army's resources to your advantage. If you want the details to each, I recommend you get the book and read it. If you want to learn how to be a good leader based on this book, stay with me. Sun Tzu was a master of soft power, trying to win wars without ever physically fighting. Or if fighting was necessary, then his goal was to win the easy battles first. And the best way to win the easy battles is if you have insider knowledge. Sun Tzu was a fan of spying and engaging in psychological warfare. Sure, these days you could turn to industry espionage, or you could just do some research on the internet and talk to your network to find out what your competitors' advantages and disadvantages are. Now, let's take this piece of advice into practice. If you're in a position where you're managing conflicts and need to win a battle, so to say, then it's important that you have accurate information about your counterpart. Think of getting that inside information or simply position yourself really well to win a battle. The goal is to think outside the box and save your resources. Apple did this with its Think Different campaign. Spotify is doing it with its product strategy. Their goal is not to compete with others, but to create a whole new game for themselves. Apple didn't just want to compete in the personal computer industry. It wanted more. Cue the iPod, the iPad, Apple Watch, and many other things I'm forgetting. Same goes for Spotify. They didn't just want to be a music platform, but a one-stop shop for all things audio. And so now you can find almost any audio product you can think of on Spotify. And here's the first step to avoiding war. Start a new playing field. Go where the competitors aren't. Think beyond their horizons. That's what the art of war teaches. We mentioned earlier that it's important to know what your competitor or enemy is up to. To do that, you can deploy different methods. Sun Tzu really likes espionage. But these days, you've got data, market research, business intelligence, and yes, there's corporate espionage. And while it is important that you know your enemy, it is just as important that you know yourself. You can exploit information you have on the enemy, but it won't be of much use to you unless you have a full understanding of you and your team's or company's capacities, strengths, and weaknesses, and so on. So before you make a move on your competitor, make sure you know exactly how you can follow up your move. Think about the resources and skills in your team. Are there any tensions that can be exploited as weaknesses? Could you, for example, run a longer marketing campaign to one-up your competition? How far can you take this sustainably? And then when you do make your move, you have to be fast. Sun Tzu says, "Speed is the essence of war. Take advantage of the enemy's unpreparedness, travel by unexpected routes, and strike him where he has taken no precautions." What he wants us to understand is that speed and picking the right moment are the keys to success. Make sure you can be fast and that you enter the playing field at a moment that's unexpected. So let's say you see your market competitor deal with a huge PR crisis, and maybe you've been working on launching an update in your app that would give you an edge over your competitor's product. In a moment like that, you have to be prepared. You have to be able to move fast and launch fast. Your competition may just be distracted by some big leadership changes. Seize your moment. Next, I'd like to bring up what Sun Tzu says about leadership. We have mainly been talking about business strategy and tactics, and that's great. But for you who may or may not be leading a team, what advice does this title have for you? The key idea here is something you've heard before: lead by example. Specifically, it says, a leader leads by example, not by force. And to do that, a leader has to have the following things. They have to have a lot of experience that allows them to have foresight. They need to be able to anticipate what's coming down the pike, be it in the context of competition or just a regular work context. A good leader needs to think strategically and be able to react quickly to changes. On top of that, there are some soft skills a good leader should have. They must be able to act with integrity, be kind, and sympathetic. Sun Tzu says a leader needs to love and protect their troops. That will help them win over the hearts of their team. Something that stands out in Sun Tzu's writing is that he also says leaders should be strict and disciplined. With 5 a.m. wake-up routines making the rounds these days, discipline isn't what stands out, but rather the strictness. It is important that leaders should hold their team to high standards. To upkeep those standards, leaders should implement a system based on discipline and rewards to manage their team's performance. Here's what you could walk away with. Not every fight needs to end in battle, but instead it's much wiser to avoid the battle altogether by means of getting information on your competition, thinking outside the box, and creating your own playing field. Most victories are made when you are prepared. So prepare to strike fast when the opportunity presents itself, because speed is of the essence. In terms of being a good leader, make sure you're kind yet strict. Rely on your experiences. Love your team, but lead by example for how to be strict and disciplined. And you will be sure to have the loyalty of your team.
Got feedback? We'd love to hear from you about our content. Just share your thoughts and book recommendations in the comments section, and be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about the latest extracts. Thank you and have a great day.